This is Ethan, and I'm here with Dave, and together we are Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 242-inch.
On this episode, we interview animator Ryan Krzak, better known as RWappin, who worked on the Polkamania music video, as well as the well-loved fan-made videos for Albuquerque and Everything You Know Is Wrong.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast.
It's a podcast about Weird Al.
It's Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Seriously, the whole podcast is about Weird
It's
Al.
Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast.
You don't have to listen, but we're glad you are.
Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Well, hello, Dave, or shall I say, Conan the Librarian.
I see you are still in character from our UHF script reading this past Monday.
Still in character? I've been in character for weeks, getting ready for my big role. Dave, I think you're referring to the UHF script reading we did just a couple days ago with fans of Weird Al and other friends of Dave and Ethan's 2,000-inch Weird Al podcast. We got together over Zoom, and it was a blast.
Yes, everybody did a wonderful job, and everybody was laughing and smiling through the whole thing. And shout out to our close personal friend, Will King, who helped organize the whole thing.
So a bunch of people brought costumes and props, and there were so many spot-on voice impersonations of the characters they were reading for. It was spectacular.
Yes, if Al's looking for voice actors for UHF Part 2, he doesn't have to look any further than this UHF script reading.
Absolutely. Now, Will King, he did record all of the fun, so we'll make sure to share a link to it once the video is available for public viewing.
But right now, we're going to share what's happening in Weird Al related news.
Weird Al has been confirmed as a celebrity guest at 2 upcoming GalaxyCon events.
Weird Al will be appearing at GalaxyCon in Columbus, Ohio on December 6th through 8th, and GalaxyCon in Richmond, Virginia on March 28th through March 30th, 2025.
Both events have autograph and photo op packages available with a special 30-minute roundtable meet and greet with Weird Al Yankovic for those who want to fork over $500.
That's very tempting, but I think I'd rather sit at a square table with Weird Al. Gotta pass.
For more details on both of these conventions, you can visit GalaxyCon.com.
And speaking of GalaxyCon, Weird Al's Q&A from the San Jose GalaxyCon was posted on the GalaxyCon YouTube page last week.
While it's an enjoyable Q&A, you may not be surprised by any of the questions or answers, although Weird Al does again hint at wanting to do a musical.
In the Q&A, Al also gives a shout out to all the people who got Weird Al tattoos. So it's always nice to be personally recognized by Al in front of a group of his fans.
At least he didn't make you dance like a fool this time.
I was not dancing like a fool. That took me years of serious training.
And in even more what's happening in Weird Al Con-related news, our very own special guest, Jackie Rossi, shared some exciting news from the road.
Jackie reports that over the past weekend, there was a meetup of Weird Al fans at Dragon Con in Atlanta.
She reports that while it wasn't an official event, a group of fans organized an event online and encouraged people to show up cosplaying as Weird Al.
She posted the group photo over on our official Facebook group, group.2000inch.com, so check it out.
The season finale of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire aired last week, featuring some celebrities, comedians Reggie Watts and Ron Funches. And Dave, I have a feeling you're going to be able to answer their $8,000 question correctly.
Okay, I'm ready.
The question was, giving the parody treatment to two members of the same family, Weird Al Yankovic released Achy Breaky Song in 1993, and what song in 2011? A, Like a Surgeon. B, I Think I'm a Clone Now. C, Girls Just Want to Have Lunch. D, Party in the CIA.
I had no idea that Cyndi Lauper was related to Billy Ray Cyrus. I think I might go with C, Girls Just Want to Have Lunch.
Dave, is that your final answer?
No, it's D, Party in the CIA.
You got that correct, Dave. Congratulations. Now, the next question. Do you think that Reggie and Ron got it correct.
I certainly hope so, otherwise we're going to revoke their Weird Al fan cards.
Well, thankfully they got it correct, Dave.
Yay! Okay, well, Weird Al makes an appearance in Adam Sandler's brand new Netflix comedy special, Love You. Well, he kind of makes an appearance.
During the closing song, Adam sings a tribute to comedy legends with a slideshow of clips playing behind him, and one of those clips is Weird Al performing on The Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder.
Ah, very timely.
Tributes and praise continue to come in for our close personal friend Joe Jaffa, who we sadly lost on August 12th to cancer.
Joe's family shared that any donations in Joe's name should be made directly to the Children's Tumor Foundation, a charity that meant a lot to Joe.
The direct link can be found by heading to tinyurl.com/Joe Jaffa, and you can also follow the link posted in our Facebook group over at group.2000inch.com.
In addition, our friends Alexis Adams, John Katz, and Alicia Bonveri are working on creating stickers, pins, and the like with Joe's initials on it to be worn in his memory, with proceeds going to the Children's Tumor Foundation.
They also started a brand new Facebook group called Jaffa's Jokesters, where Joe's friends can reminisce about their favorite Joe moments, share photos, tell funny stories, or mishear Weird Al lyrics together.
The link to join is posted on our official Facebook group, group.2000inch.com, and our official Discord server.
This episode is brought to you in part by vegan burrito restaurant Burrito Burrito, home of the 2-pound double wrapped in a quesadilla Burrito and Wizard Burger in Albany, New York. Come on down to Burrito Burrito and Burrito your Burrito and Wizard Burger for mouth-watering loaded, dare I say beefy, vegan burgers. From Albany to Uranus, Burrito and Wizard Burger feed the hunger with out-of-this-world plant-based real food, always vegan style. Visit burritosquare.com and wizardburger.com to order ahead.
And now it's time for what's happening in John Bermuda Schwartz, What a Guy related news. Okay, I know a lot of you people probably like to wait until the last minute. Well, this is it. This is the last minute.
That's right! It has come to our attention that John Bermuda Schwartz's second book of Weird Al photographs, Lights, Camera, Accordion, is very close to selling out over at 1984publishing.com.
There are fewer than 20 books in stock and fewer than 5 of the limited box sets in stock, so now is the time to buy them if you haven't already.
Or, if you're like us, and need one to have and one to keep, and one for every room of the house.
And now it's time for what's happening in past guest of Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast related news.
From all of us here at Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, we'd like to wish our very own Kenneth Crazy Ken Gwinnett a pretty stinking majestic birthday!
And a pinch to grow an inch. Wait a minute. Are we wishing all of our past guests a happy birthday now?
No, just Kenneth.
Ah, that makes sense. He's the best. And since we're not wishing past guests a happy birthday, I don't have to wish my wife a happy birthday next year.
You do that, Dave, or don't do that, rather. You do you, buddy. Just realize not wishing your very own spouse a happy birthday is strongly not recommended by Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
Ah, if it blows up in my face, I'll just blame intern Frank.
Now that is strongly recommended by Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast.
I think it's time for this episode's interview. Take it away, Ethan.
Dave and I are absolutely thrilled to welcome to the podcast. He is an artist, he's an animator, and he started off creating fan animations for Weird Al videos, and very recently was hired by Weird Al himself to work on the brand new music video for Polkamania. Please welcome to the podcast, Ryan Krzak. How's it going, Ryan?
It's going good. Thanks for having me on the show.
So your fan videos, Ryan, at least the Everything You Know Is Wrong and Albuquerque videos, those were recorded under the name RWappin, right? So people might not recognize Ryan Krzak unless they've seen the Polkamania video, but the RWappin is your name for that. How did you come up with that name, RWappin?
Yes, Ryan Krzak is my real name. RWappin has been my internet name for pretty much as long as I can remember.
Wow.
Where did that name come from? I wish I had like a better story for that. It wasn't even me that came up with the name Wappin. I think it was my brother.
Okay.
Because when we were kids, we would make each other laugh with drawings a lot. And I think he had some character that was named Wappin at some point. So I just ended up taking that name because I thought it sounded funny. But it doesn't really mean anything.
So R is for Ryan.
R was for something else. It wasn't for Ryan. It was for one of my characters that I don't even have anymore, that I had way back then, whose name started with R. So
Wow. I would have never expected that to be the story.
yeah,
So-
it doesn't really make much sense. There's not really any meaning to it, but that's how it came to be, basically.
So we alluded to it, but I'd love to hear it from your mouth. You started off as this Weird Al fan, creating these really incredible animation videos for his songs. Tell us where you got started and what inspired you to create these.
Well, I think the first time I ever heard Weird Al, I didn't even know that it was Weird Al. I just thought they were they were on these, it must have been like kids' Disney CDs that my mom would play in the car when I was a kid.
Yeah.
There was a Yoda on there. There was definitely like the Star Wars ones.
Yeah.
Like there was The Saga Begins and Yoda on those CDs. I remember I also heard I Love Rocky Road at some point. But it must have been when, I don't know how old I was, maybe like 14 or 15. I was in the car on the way to a camping trip. And there were some older kids in the car, and they put on Albuquerque. And I just remember thinking that it was the best song ever. I thought it was the best thing I ever heard at the time. It was like, wow, my life has changed after hearing this. I got to do something with this. I wasn't even animating yet at that point.
Really?
I was just drawing. I didn't even find Newgrounds or anything yet, even though it was around.
Yeah.
But that's the first time I heard Albuquerque. And later, when I did start picking up animation, I was trying to figure out stuff that I could animate, and Albuquerque was actually one of the first things I ever did. Like I did some other kind of test things, and I had some other kind of test kind of animations in Flash before that. But my first long, proper thing, very long, was Albuquerque.
What an ambitious start.
Yeah. One of my first proper animations was an 11.5-minute animation. It was pretty crazy.
And is there a name for the character who stars in Albuquerque and Everything You Know Is Wrong?
There wasn't back then, but there is now. I just made it up recently. His name is Miracle Machine.
Okay.
That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about Newgrounds. You mentioned that for people who might not know what that is, and you got your start there.
Newgrounds is a website with a bunch of independent animators. It actually predates YouTube. People used to post videos there before YouTube existed. And what was cool about Newgrounds is it wasn't just a video. You could also put interactivity in Flash back then. So you could put like Easter eggs or make games. And that was like a whole other layer of creativity that I think has been kind of lost because
Totally.
Flash died in like 2020 or something. Like it's not even, you need like special adapters to even watch Flash files anymore, which I think is kind of sad. But back then Newgrounds was a big website for creative people, and it was really cool because you could create anything you wanted, and there was no middleman. You just could make something at home on your computer and upload it and get an audience.
I remember spending so much time as a kid on Newgrounds because it was just, I mean, like you said, it was YouTube before YouTube, because there was funny animations and there was games and there was just, it was so much fun. And there was also some like kind of a little bit naughty stuff. So as like a young teenager, it's, it's kind of like
definitely naughty stuff.
You kind of are like, you want to do that as a kid and watch, some swearing and other kind of stuff. So I always loved it, and I just remember your stuff from back in the day.
Oh, did you watch it back when it was new?
I definitely did. Yeah, definitely the Weird Al stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
On Newgrounds before it was even on YouTube. I see people commenting on my YouTube version of Albuquerque like, oh, this is, I can't believe this is 12 years old, because they're looking at the date on the YouTube upload.
Right.
But it's actually old. It's actually older than that. It's more like 18 years old.
I don't know if I actually watched it on Newgrounds for the first time.
I feel like I did. I feel like I watched it on Newgrounds for the first time because I feel like, at the time, probably the World of Weird Al Yankovic forum was active and people were posting this sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah,
on
and
there.
I was on that forum.
Oh, you were? Oh, do you remember what your handle was?
It must have been RWappin. I don't think it would be anything else.
RWappin. That makes sense. Okay, yeah, of course I was on there too. I was one of the administrators, Elvis, if you remember that name. But I'm sure I first learned about it on World of Weird Al Yankovic forum. And I remember, because, there were Weird Al videos out there, but there weren't probably a lot of fan videos at the time. Certainly nothing of this caliber, 11-minute long Albuquerque.
Yeah, and nothing for Albuquerque. I mean, Albuquerque was always my favorite song as a kid, and maybe still is to this day. So, having a kind of semi-ish official video was always really cool.
Yeah, that was also around the same time that Straight Outta Linwood came out. And Al did a lot of videos on that album that were animated.
Yeah.
Right.
Like official ones. Like one of them was the guy from Newgrounds, David C. Lovelace. He made a cartoon, you probably remember, it has a naughty name though.
Okay.
It's like R Animal Babies.
Oh,
he did
yes.
the video for Virus Alert.
Yes.
He was a Newgrounds guy.
Yes.
So I remember being kind of jealous of him, like, oh man, he gets to make it an official video.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Albuquerque, though, because if that was your first, major video, how long did that take you to animate?
I started animating it in February 2006, and I think I finished it November 2006.
Whoa!
So that was over the period of 9 months, and I wasn't working on it like constantly, but I was working on it a lot. Like back then, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was still kind of learning how to use Flash. It was my first big animation.
Right.
So in the beginning, there were a lot of technical things that I was still trying to figure out that kind of slowed me down. Like if I were going to do the same thing today, if I were to recreate Albuquerque in the same style, I could do it in less than a month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But it probably would take me a lot longer because I would up the animation quality a lot.
Right.
So it probably would take me 9 months again, at least.
9 months.
Probably longer. It's probably longer, to be honest.
So when you're doing a video like Albuquerque, how do you get the ideas for that? Do you storyboard it out ahead of time, or did you just kind of make it up as you were going along?
Well, I storyboard everything out nowadays, but back then, I pretty much just storyboarded it in my head. So I would kind of autistically... I did this with Albuquerque and Everything That Was Wrong. I would autistically listen to a song on loop, and I would basically imagine the video over and over and over and over. But as far as the actual animation went, I kind of just did it as I went along. I didn't draw any kind of roughs or storyboard back then. But it's kind of crazy, because I always do that now.
Wow.
I think what's so amazing about Albuquerque, not only the fact that there was, a visual element finally for the song, but I don't know if you influenced my headcanon or if you just sort of were in parallel, but the way that I pictured the song is really what you captured.
I think our minds are all connected on the aether.
And I love the evolution of, you can tell that you really learned a lot from Albuquerque, because with Everything You Know Is Wrong, the quality is just incredibly better. And I mean, not that it wasn't great on Albuquerque, but you learned a lot of really cool techniques and added a lot of flourish to Everything You Know Is Wrong.
Yeah, I still to this day consider Everything You Know Is Wrong to be one of my best works. Even though it's really old, I still like it a lot. Albuquerque's a little bit harder for me to watch. I still like it, but there's a lot of things that are like, oh, that's really not drawn very well. But I still like how fun it is.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone has to have a starting point. I know, I don't know about you, Dave, but it's harder for me to listen to some of our older episodes compared to some of our newer things. But you need that starting point to get to the next level. Mm-hmm. And while Albuquerque really, like I said, matched my headcanon, Everything You Know Is Wrong really introduced a lot of stuff that I don't think I had pictured before I saw it in your video.
Yeah, that one really kind of solidified my love for animating and drawing things that are really kind of like mind trippy.
Yeah.
Like I'm a really big fan of that kind of stuff. Like just showing impossible things in a way that make your mind go, oh, maybe that is possible, but only in the imagination.
How long after Albuquerque did you start working on Everything You Know Is Wrong?
I think I also started that one in February, but it was the next year, so it was 2007.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that one, it was a lot shorter of a song, so it didn't actually take me as long. I think I finished that one like end of August, beginning of September.
Wow. Still a lot of time, though. That's a lot of effort putting that in there. What made you decide on Everything You Know Is Wrong? I mean, looking at it from a macro perspective, I mean, those are two of the most iconic Weird Al songs to a lot of super fans. But was that your reasoning for choosing Everything You Know Is Wrong as your second video?
Well, when I started Albuquerque, I actually hadn't really heard a lot of Weird Al's other stuff yet. It was actually while I was working on Albuquerque that I got all of his other songs and kind of was going through his whole discography. And I was sort of picking out some songs from there that maybe I would also want to animate later because I was doing Albuquerque. And Everything You Know Was Wrong just stood out to me because I just saw a lot of potential for visuals and doing like weird stuff because of the lyrics. There was a few other ones too that I wanted to animate but never got around to.
Okay.
Like I wanted to do I Remember Larry.
Oh, yeah.
Using that character.
That would be great.
And actually Frank's 2000-inch TV was one of them too.
Oh, man. I wish you had
interesting.
done those.
Yeah, I just never had the time
Yeah.
to. I got too much other stuff started happening.
You know what, Ryan? It's not too late.
True.
We'll take any RWappin video for a Weird Al song anytime you want to release it.
Yeah, I think I would need to be paid.
Right.
Like back then,
fair,
I was
fair.
doing stuff. Back then, I was doing stuff just because I was a kid, basically.
Right.
I was doing stuff for fun, and I actually would love to do that, but sadly, I have to pay like rent and stuff now.
Yeah, that's
All the stuff about being an adult.
yeah, growing up and everything. Boy,
I got to pay my phone bill on time.
We recently got your horoscope for today, many years after the album, commissioned in an official way. I would love to see one of those songs commissioned to you where you get paid so we can see them. I'll put in $5.
Speaking of that's your horoscope for today, I love the new video, but there was actually another video that was on Newgrounds for That's Your Horoscope Today way back then that was one of my favorite things ever at the time.
Oh, yeah?
That I was watching that one basically on loop while I was working on Albuquerque by my friend Zeke Spacey Lizard, who's a Newgrounds user.
Oh, cool.
But he made a video for that song, and I was kind of obsessed with that for a while. But yeah, Weird Al has gone back and made a video for an old song without That's Your Horoscope for Today. So I guess there is a precedent for that, isn't there?
Now there is, yeah.
So Ryan, are you all self-taught in animation, or did you go to school for this? I mean, as a kid, you sounded like you were teaching yourself Flash and so forth. But how have you progressed since then?
I did teach myself Flash, basically, but I did go to college for animation. I went to a college called Columbia College Chicago.
And are you from the Chicago area?
Yes. I grew up in the Chicago area, kind of in the Chicago suburbs, but I also lived in Chicago for a while, like during college and a little bit after. Although I'm currently in the Pacific Northwest.
Okay.
So Albuquerque comes out and sort of goes viral on Newgrounds, and Everything You Know Is Wrong comes out and also goes viral among Weird Al fans. Now, do you know if Weird Al has seen these videos at this time? And if so, did you get any sort of response from him?
I think the first time I figured out that Weird Al had seen the videos is because he had this fan animation section on his website where he linked to fan videos, and he linked mine on there. So I just kind of assumed that he'd seen them from that. But at that point, I hadn't seen his reaction or got his opinion on them or anything. I was like, oh, that's cool. He's seen them because he linked them.
Yeah, I would love to go on the journey to connect the dots from Everything You Know Is Wrong in Albuquerque to working on Polkamania. So Weird Al posts those on his website. Did you, at that earlier stage in your career, have an opportunity to actually speak with Al about it?
I did end up meeting Weird Al at one point and was able to tell him that I made those videos. And that was when he wrote a children's book called My Teacher and Me, I believe.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And he was doing a book signing in Naperville, Illinois, at a bookshop called Anderson's Books, I think. So I actually didn't even know he was going to be there. I think it was my aunt that told me, hey, Weird Al is going to be in town. You should go there and meet him. And it was either like the day before or the same day. So I'm like, oh, I gotta get over there before it's too late. I had to get on the first train back there so I could go to this book signing to meet Weird Al.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting in line. I was there. I think my parents and my sister were with me, and we were waiting in line at this book signing. And it got to me, and I went up to Weird Al and I said, like, hey, I made some music videos for some of your songs. And he's like, oh, really? Which one? And I said, Albuquerque and Everything You Know Is Wrong. And he remembered. He's like, oh, you're R. He was like trying to remember the screen name. And I said Ryan because I thought he was trying to remember because Ryan starts with R.
Right.
He was trying to remember RWappin, and I think maybe my sister who was there like pointed that out. And I'm like, oh yeah, RWappin. He's like, RWappin, that's it. He's like, yeah, I love those videos. They're some of my favorites.
Oh wow.
And
Wow.
And I think he also said, hey, can I have your card unless we want to use you for something? And I did have some business cards with me.
Amazing.
So I gave him one of those. And I was so stoked. Yeah, we got a picture together, which I posted on my Twitter recently. But I barely even remember the picture being taken, honestly, because I was just like so stoked that he asked for my card. And that was like 2013. So that was like right before Mandatory Fun came out.
So when it actually came time to work on Polkamania, did you hear from Al at that old email address or wherever you gave him, or how did he reach out to you?
Actually, originally, it was Jay Levy that reached out to me, Weird Al's manager, via email. And I was actually on the road at the time. I was driving up north to visit some friends, and I got this email from Jay Levy, and I looked at it. I'm like, oh, Jay Levy, why does that name sound familiar to me? I know I've heard that name somewhere before. And I opened up the email, and it was about, like, hey, I'm Weird Al's manager. We were reaching out to you because we're doing a project, and we were wondering if you'd be interested in contributing to it or something like that. I'm like, no way. The time has finally come.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I'm interested.
Now, the video and the song came out in late July. Do you remember when that email came through?
It wasn't that long before. It was probably the original one might have been like April, maybe May.
Wow. Okay.
Like, I think it was probably like April.
Just a few months before.
Yeah, a few months. It was like 3 months or something before. And originally I was emailed by Jay Levy, but I did end up actually talking to Al too. Like once I was actually started to work on the video, I was emailing back and forth with Al himself, and that was really cool.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
What was that process like?
I think it was after they sent me the demo version. I think they sent me like a demo version of my segment, like before I had the kind of more fleshed out final version.
Yeah.
Al recorded kind of like just like a quick and dirty version that was just meant to like start animating to, that was going to be pretty much synced up with the final version.
Okay.
So it was after I was kind of like brought on the project and was like definitely officially going to animate it that Al emailed me. And he said like, hey Ryan, he said like, I'm a big fan of your videos for Everything You Know Is Wrong in Albuquerque.
So cool.
Nice.
It's insane.
he was just super enthusiastic and
amazing
and awesome. And every time I would send him something, he's like, that's great, yeah, like keep going with that.
Oh, that's nice to get that positive feedback. Did he give you a choice of what song to animate, or did he tell you you're doing Uptown Funk?
He told me we were doing Uptown Funk. I think they were gonna let people choose, but I think they decided in case like people were like gonna start fighting over a certain segment, it would be easier just to assign
Okay.
one each person.
Yeah. All right, so people haven't seen it yet. In the Polkamania video, Ryan does the animation for the Uptown Funk part of the video. So tell us a little bit about your ideas for how you wanted to animate Uptown Funk.
Well, I knew for sure that I wanted to bring the character Miracle Machine back.
Right.
So that and I wanted him to kind of pop up like in a surprise kind of way. So when people saw it, they're like, no way, it's that guy again.
That's exactly how I felt.
That was my response. I said, I know that character. That's RWappin. He did the Albuquerque music video.
Yeah, and actually originally I wasn't going to do the part before that kind of with the yodeler and the sauerkraut falls on him.
Yeah.
Originally I was just doing, I didn't have that yodelole-hee-hoo part. But then Al said, hey, he wanted me to do that part too, so I added that in.
That's
I think,
awesome.
That worked out really well, because I like that part.
Yes.
And superfans would recognize that big jar of sauerkraut.
Yes. It's the sauerkraut that was the bane of that character's existence until he was 26 and a half years old. And there's also kind of a subtle little Easter egg at the end that is kind of quick, so it's easy to miss it, where, well, first of all, if in the original Uptown Funk video, there's these moments where the camera kind of tilts and, like, the whole screen kind of goes, like, vertical.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like, what I did at the end of my segment was the screen is tilting, and it kind of makes Miracle Machine kind of lose his balance and fall. But there's also, like, a fridge that falls from the side, and the fridge is filled with the jars of sauerkraut.
Amazing Easter egg.
That is so great.
I love it.
Because that's all he ate for 26 and a half years.
That's true. Till he's 26 and a half years old.
I just brought it up, and I did not notice the sauerkraut. That is amazing.
There's some other little Easter eggs too. Like there's Harvey the Wonder Hamster,
Yep.
and the lucky autograph glow in the dark snorkel, and some Twinkie. There's Twinkie wiener sandwiches. There's like a bunch of stuff that falls on that part where the screen tilts. But it's kind of in only the last few frames, so it's easy to miss unless you like pause it.
So cool.
Well, if anything for Weird Al fans do is they will go frame by frame through every single music video. So you can guarantee that all that effort to hide those little Easter eggs there will be found at some point by Weird Al fans.
Yeah, I think I can count on people finding it.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Did you get guidance from Weird Al as to what sort of should be happening in here, or is this all original Ryan ideas for this part of the video?
He pretty much let me do what I wanted. He did say like, "Hey, I'm here for any feedback, whatever you want. I think he said specifically like I can be as creatively involved as much or as little as you like." So wow. I kind of just went ahead and did whatever. I just knew I had to get that character back in there, though.
Yes.
And did Al have a reaction to including Miracle Machine? Did he say he loved that, or was he expecting that?
I don't know, actually. My suspicion is that he was kind of expecting me to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't specifically tell me to.
Okay. Oh, it's so great. So, Ryan, aside from your great contributions to the Weird Al universe and fandom, you've also worked on music videos for other artists, I think also in fan and official capacities. I'd love to hear about some of your favorites.
I definitely did some videos for Logan Whitehurst way back then.
That's awesome.
I did a video for Hello Fred the Beard and a video for Happy Noodle versus Sad Noodle. And those were also two of my more popular ones back then.
Yeah.
But those were kind of old too. Like Hello for the Beard. Hello for the Beard was in between Albuquerque and Everything You Know Is Wrong.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then Happy Noodle versus Sad Noodle was a couple years after Everything You Know Is Wrong. There were some other videos that I did too later on that were commission videos.
Okay.
Some of those I'm more proud of than others. But one of them that's pretty famous, that got a lot of views, is one called Jumping Devil for Living Tombstone.
Okay.
I did some Lemon Demon videos too, that were older ones.
So were you conscious to keep Miracle Machine exclusive to Weird Al content.
Oh yeah, in my mind, he was always he wasn't meant to be a Weird Al himself,
Right?
But he was definitely a Weird Al universe character.
I love that. Is there a biography for Miracle Machine? Like, is that the same guy in these videos, or are they?
Yeah, his biography is that he was force-fed nothing but sauerkraut.
Okay.
He was 26.5 years old.
Okay.
And then he finally got free and is wreaking havoc upon the world ever since.
Until he died from the paper cut, of course.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I guess that means he's canonically dead, which means he came back. He rose from the dead for Uptown Funk.
Or Uptown Funk happened before he died, and we just were looking into the future, because as we know, with time, everything we know is wrong.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
Okay.
Well, I mean, in Uptown Funk, right, there's all these pieces of Miracle Machine that sort of are floating out there, right? So maybe that's
True.
him sort of coming back together into human form? I don't
He
know.
he clearly travels through time and everything is
Right.
wrong. So I think he's just a being that can transcend time and space. Like he can die, he can come back, he can go to any time. I think eating all that sauerkraut like somehow gives you interdimensional powers.
Right.
But you have to eat a lot of it. You have to eat literally nothing else for your whole life.
Radioactive
that power.
sauerkraut. Yes.
And no one's willing to do that. You have to be force-fed. That's the only way.
No one would put that upon themselves, of course. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's a big commitment to do that. The powers honestly aren't worth it. Because even if you love sauerkraut, you're going to get sick of it.
I'm also a big fan of the They Might Be Giants animations you've created. Those were...
How could I forget that one? That's one of my favorite ones. That's the first one I should have mentioned, because that's honestly one of my favorite ones, is the one that I did for I Left My Body.
Yeah. So what is the story on doing that? Was that an official capacity one, or is that a fan video?
There was actually a contest going on. They were holding a contest for making a video for that song, and that was my entry to that contest. It did not win. There was a little bit of a controversy around the winner, actually, because the winner of that video, it was later found out that all of the footage he used for his video, he wasn't new footage. He basically just lifted it from an old project.
Oh, no.
Oh, jeez. Wow. Yeah, I remember when they were doing the contest, but I never heard, I guess, the follow-up to that.
But yeah, I still really like that video. That one's definitely one of my favorites.
I love that video, too, and I definitely see at least some similarities between that and this new project that you're working on. I would love if you could tell us about it.
Oh, yes. There is a new project I'm working on that's kind of my original. It's all me. Like, it's not using a song from someone else. It's 100% my original project, and it's called End Times, which I just put out a comic of called Full Spectrum Souls. I did it as a comic only because it's faster. I'd love to be able to do animations with that concept and characters someday. But I really like that comic too, so that's on my Twitter and everything right now, if you want to check it out.
Yeah, it's really neat, and I definitely recommend people check it out, as well as your other stuff, because you're not just creating Weird Al videos. You have a whole oeuvre of really cool stuff, and I would love to hear, what some of these Weird Al videos and early animations that you worked on as a kid have led to in your career.
Yeah, I've been doing animation ever since I started doing the Albuquerque video. I've pretty much been doing animation the whole time. Like, I haven't stopped. I've been doing it for a living.
That is so cool.
Interestingly, I have never had really a proper job at a studio or anything. This whole time, it's been contract work and freelance work, which I think is actually really unusual. Like, for someone to be doing animation in the realm of independent freelance stuff for that long. So I'm kind of proud of that. But yeah, I've worked on all kinds of things in the meantime. I can't even think of them all right now. Most recently, I work on the show Smiling Friends.
Which has exploded in popularity. That is such a cool project to have been working on.
Yeah, I love that show, and I love everybody that works on it. It's actually a lot of Newgrounds people.
Oh, really?
Like that show is definitely a show that was kind of born out of Newgrounds.
That is really cool. So is that how you became involved? Is just through knowing those folks?
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of the work that I've done over the years has been with Studio Yada, which is owned by my friend Jake Gons, who actually moved to the Pacific Northwest with a bunch of other animators to work on stuff together. And a lot of the stuff that I've done has been with Studio Yada, especially over the last few years, like pretty much ever since 2015. And that's included a bunch of stuff. Like we worked on some Rick and Morty stuff. Have you guys ever seen Bushworld Adventures?
No.
It was a Rick and Morty thing, but it was made by one of the Smiling Friends creators. So it's not part of the official show. It was like an April Fool's short but with Rick and Morty characters, and they were Australian. And that was one of my favorite things that I worked on because it's very silly. But we worked on a music video, a Rick and Morty music video called, I don't know if the name of the band is Run the Jewels or if that was the name of the song.
Okay. Which also features Weird Al himself.
Yes, it does.
How did you get involved with that documentary that's in progress?
Well, that documentary is directed by Connor Nyberg, who's actually a pretty young guy. Like, I think when I first met him, he was making this film as part of like a college project, which is pretty impressive.
Wow.
He interviewed all these people that knew Logan when he was alive and put together this really solid documentary. And I did some animations in the documentary, which I actually wish I could show people, but it's yet to be released. So that's some work that I've done that is not released to the public yet that I'm pretty happy with. But yeah, he got me on the project because I did those videos for Fred the Beard and Happy Noodle versus Sad Noodle.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that stuff you made as a kid is coming back and getting you paid and getting you these really cool projects, I just think it's so incredible.
Oh yeah, it's really cool. Couldn't be happier about it.
Now, you mentioned to us off the air that you started a video from My Own Eyes, but that never got finished up. I would love to hear, where you got to in that and what your idea was for the video.
Yes, if there's any video that I would still like to make now, it would be that one, I would say. Because that one's one of the few from Mandatory Fun. There was like 2 songs on that whole album that did not have videos. It was like that one and Jackson Park Express.
Yep.
And
yeah,
I just think My Own Eyes has a lot of potential for really a really fun video.
Oh, totally.
Because the lyrics in that one are like just it's basically just describing a bunch of crazy stuff that he saw. Like that's the whole song. So being able to animate that, I think, would be pretty fun. But I did start a storyboard for it because I was gonna animate it, but then I realized I just can't do this. I don't have the time to do it. Because that was when I was well into adulthood and having to do other stuff.
Yeah.
But I was really inspired by that song for sure.
And was the idea to bring Miracle Machine back?
Yeah, Miracle Machine was going to be in that one.
Amazing.
I did post what I did do for it on my Twitter.
Oh, okay.
Like around the time that Polkamania came out. So there's like a little bit of storyboard for it.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Well, Ryan, we can find you on Twitter or X and the other social medias as well as YouTube by checking out your sort of online presence name, RWappin, and we can also Google you and easily find all that stuff with your actual name, Ryan Krzak, and we really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I mean, I think seeing Miracle Machine show up in Polkamania was the greatest surprise of the entire video. There's a lot of really good surprises in that video, so it was really cool to see that and experience that and then get to hear it all from your perspective. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you once again to Ryan Krzak for joining us this episode. You can check him out over at wappinanimation.com, RWappin on YouTube and X, plus patreon.com/RWappin.
This episode is brought to you in part by Discover Darwin, promoting tourism in Darwin, Minnesota. Not only is historic Darwin, Minnesota beautiful, it's also delicious.
Darwin, Minnesota is home to the Bee Twine Honey Farm.
If our discussion of Bee Twine Honey Farm on the last episode wasn't enough to convince you to visit Darwin, Minnesota, hopefully these unsolicited reviews will convince you.
Bee Twine Honey Farm has not one, not two, but 3 5-star reviews on Google.
In Dakota Cron's 5-star review, they say, "Awesome honey! I love the fresh eggs too!"
We assumed Dakota meant chicken eggs and not bee eggs, but still a glowing review.
Candace Leafenring's 5-star review says, "Very good honey and cute shop."
We assumed Candace meant the shop at the farm and not a shop inside the beehive. But still a glowing review.
The latest 5-star review came in just about 2 weeks ago from Mr. Jeffrey Hansen.
He was so overwhelmed by the majesty that is Bee Twine Honey Farm that he didn't even leave a comment.
Maybe he just couldn't type with his sticky, honey-covered fingers.
Yeah, that's probably it. So visit Darwin, Minnesota next time you feel the need to write a 5-star Google review. Discover Darwin more than just a twine ball. And after you visit Darwin, Minnesota, be sure to attempt to visit www.discoverdarwin.biz.
Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast is brought to you absolutely free thanks to our incredible sponsors, Burrito, Wizard Burger, our very own Jackson Scoggins, Discover Darwin, and our very own Kenneth Crazy Ken Gwinnett. Our podcast is also supported by everyone else in our Patreon family, with special thanks to our very own close personal friend level Patreon supporters, Casey Killingsworth, Scotto Brothers, Zeb, Allison, Adriana Banana Yugovich, Gus and Alicia, Matt T., Dana B. and Beaker, Devlin, Ron, Blair, Ajax, Javier, Kev Messick, Zach Casper, Weird's Dream Date Nancy, UH Jeff, and also thanks to Spencer Parks, Vicky DeVries Rhymes with Cheese, William King, Joe Bohannon, Chris Michaud, and everyone else in our pretty stinking majestic Patreon family.
If you enjoy our pretty stinking majestic Weird Al podcast, as heard in the Weird the Al Yankovic story commentary track, please consider supporting us over at patreon.com/2000inch. There are awesome benefits like getting your name on the podcast, your very own private RSS feed, which gives you early access to each and every single bonus episode, and the self-satisfaction of doing something important with your otherwise pitiful, meaningless existence. And don't forget to check out our official merchandise shop over at shop.2000inch.com. All proceeds from purchases go directly towards supporting our fine podcast.
We love hearing from our listeners and other Weird Al fans, so be sure to join our Facebook community at group.2000inch.com and visit our Discord server for even more riveting Weird Al and Red Rum Tagootie related conversations. You can find both of them linked on our website, as well as information about past episodes and guests over at 2000inch.com or weirdalpodcast.com.
Keep up on new episodes, podcast news, and events by following at 2000inch on Facebook, X, Threads, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe everywhere you listen to podcasts so you do not miss a single episode. Not only does subscribing help the podcast, you will get a tattoo in the parking lot of the Roosevelt Field Mall. Plus, we also love it when we receive voicemail via our official patent-pending 27-hour-a-day podcast hotline, 347 Spatula, as seen in the Illustrated Al, the Songs of Weird Al Yankovic. That number is 347-772-8852. Give it a call or a text, and you might even hear your message on a future episode.
Thank you once again to Ryan Krzak for joining us this episode. We'd also like to thank William King, Jackie Rossi, Brian A. Miller, Alexis Adams, John Katz, Alicia Bonviri, Rob Kuttner, Wendy Lippert, our very own Claire Walsh, Miracle Machine, and everyone who attended our UHF script reading on Monday night. Thank you to the Grammy Award-winning Jim Kimo West for our incredible podcast theme song, and thank you to Weird Al Yankovic, as this podcast probably would not exist without him. Thank you also to John Bermuda Schwartz, Steve J., Ruben Valtierra, Jay Levy, and the irreplaceable Joe Jaffa. And a big thanks to all of you, our loyal listeners, subscribers, Patreon supporters and sponsors, and everyone else who makes our podcast possible.
Thank you for choosing Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast. And until next time, remember to gill and chill, keep listening to Weird Al, and stay cheesy. Oh, by the way, Ethan, did you see that the Big Dipper Creamery, Oklahoma, teased a new Twinkie Wiener Sandwich ice cream coming soon?
What? Right when I get back from Tulsa? Ugh, they just want to pull me right back in.
The big question is, would you try it?
I would be so curious to try it, but only if there is a vegetarian or vegan representation of the hot dog in there. What about you, Dave?
No.
That was Dave and Ethan's 2000-inch Weird Al podcast, episode 242-inch.
Don't believe me, just listen.
Yodelay-hoo.